is Darryn Wellstead, and I'm an instructor at Northern Lights College in Fort St. John since 2013, and I teach social sciences. And I recently completed my PhD in sociology at the University of Ottawa. My doctoral research investigated how mothers use Facebook groups to talk about health and parenting. So one of the more relevant findings for this interview was my finding that mothers tend to seek out and participate in Facebook groups that validate the beliefs that they already have, and that they're likely to avoid groups that challenge their beliefs. And it makes sense that we just feel more comfortable and safe in spaces that validate the choices and decisions that we make. This is especially important for mothers who, generally speaking, face quite a lot of pressure around parenting and health decisions. At least in my study, mothers tended to feel better in social media spaces that confirm to them that they're doing things right. I kind of address that at the end of my little tips, is that over the longer term, it is really important to expose ourselves to a diverse range of views and opinions. But in the shorter term, sometimes we need to kind of control our bubble a little bit more closely to protect our mental health. You know, from a sociological perspective, a community would be a group of people that have sort of shared meanings with one another, a sense of culture, shared norms and values, reciprocal relationships, interdependency. There's usually some sort of a structure to a community. So that's sort of like the academic concept of what community is. For me, community is a sense of connection with the people around you. It is a sense of shared values, of interdependency, of being able to rely on one another. This sort of feeling that you're in something together. Maybe you're not doing everything together, and maybe there are differences in what you do or what you believe, but there's something that you share, and whatever it is, you're in it together. That's my sense of community. I think Fort St. John does have a really strong sense of community. And moving up to Fort St. John from Vancouver, it took me a while to really get a feel for that. But once I became more integrated with Fort St. John, the community here, I really started to feel sort of that, what I would describe as like small town, big heart feeling, and the sense that there are people here, even if I don't know them, that are looking out for me and care about me. And I've seen countless times people in this community, rise to the occasion when individuals were struggling, when organizations were struggling. People are always willing to lend a hand and help out. Fort St. John for me is a place where, well, it's my home. I'll start out by saying that. It's the place where I had my two beautiful children. It's a place where I have found an amazing and fulfilling job at Northern Lights College. It's a place where I have built some amazing professional and personal relationships. And it's a place that's encouraged me to really explore. I never thought that I would be living in this part of the province, and I've really enjoyed in the last little while getting out and exploring and seeing the beauty that this region has to offer. So I really feel like Fort St. John has just pushed me to grow as a human being, and also just really provided a beautiful and supportive environment for raising a family and being part of a community. So most of us are already pretty heavy users of social media, but we aren't necessarily what I would call conscious users. So we're not necessarily paying attention to the cumulative impact that these platforms can have on our mental health. So the first tip that I would give people is to remember that social media is still media. So it's important to develop what we would call social media literacy skills. Ideally, we don't want to use social media as a replacement for legitimate news. Instead, you should find a channel or a website that's ranked as reputable and then seek your news there. And I do have a link that I can share with you that people can use to kind of figure out if their news source is a good one or not. Another thing that we can do is to fact check when we see a post that's interesting and let's say it has some sort of a statistic in it. We can fact check with at least 2 other sources before sharing. And if we're not able to find any other sources that sort of back up what's being said, just don't share it, right? And it's not that it's necessarily wrong, but it might be, right? And so we ideally don't want to be contributing to the spread of misinformation, which is rampant. It's a big problem on social media. Another tip that I would give is to remember that social media is not real. The posts online that people put of their family, pictures, videos, those sorts of things are what a friend of mine calls the highlight reel. And so we need to avoid comparing ourselves to others' highlight reels. We only get a little snapshot of people's lives on social media, right? Not the full picture. And of course, people tend to present themselves the way that they want to be perceived by others. So what you see online on social media is not real, and therefore any kind of comparison that you make to yourself or your family or your situation is also not real. The third tip I would give is to monitor your consumption of social media. And you can do this by tracking the number of hours per day or per week that you're using social media. iPhone has a screen time app, or feature, I should say, and there are also some other apps you can download if you're an Android user, like Moment, App Detox, or Off Time, that can help you to track how much you're using it. And then also develop mindfulness around your use. So notice the impact on your mood and your productivity. So you may want to ask yourself, do certain posts, pages, or people trigger you or make you upset? And if they do, you can consider unfollowing them either temporarily using the snooze feature or permanently. And alternatively, you might want to challenge yourself to just flat out ignore posts that trigger you. It's hard to do, but it's a great skill in emotional regulation to not get pulled in every time you see something that sort of activates you. I recommend in that same line that people take advantage of the customization options for the various platforms like Facebook and Instagram, where you can unfollow people that bother you. Again, you can snooze them just for 30 days, or you can unfollow them permanently if they're invoking anxiety.